Might be the biggest home game in years. We're previewing Sabres and Bruins coming up here in the Locked On Sabres podcast.
Your Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome in to this weekend edition of the Locked On Sabres podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. You can check us out and listen wherever you get your podcast. You can watch our show on YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe. You could become a part of our Locked On Sabres Everydayers Club. If you want to jump in on our private Discord and chat in there, if you want ad-free versions of this show, plus a lot of other perks, you can read all about those. Head over to lockedonsabres.supercast.com, and that is where you can sign up. Today's episode of the show is presented by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Sneaky Joe DiBiase getting ready for a monster matchup between the Sabres and the Bruins. Speaking of Gametime, this might be one of those nights that you really want to be in the building. I will alert you, though, these are the most expensive Sabre tickets I have seen in a very, very long time. Like, the get-in price is in the triple digits. Although, you want to get into the double digits, you head over to Gametime. It's going to give you your best shot at getting in the building. It's a Saturday night. It is a 7-game win streak, looking for 8 in a row. The Sabres could tie for a playoff spot with a win in this game. Will be a little dependent on what else happens in the league. Everybody's been off. Everybody would be back in action on Saturday, so we'll see. But it's possible they're tied for a playoff spot on Saturday night. It's the Bruins. Every generation of Sabre fans hates the Boston Bruins, whether you are my dad's age and you hate Brad Park and Cam Neely, or you're my age and you hate Milan Lucic and Zdeno Chara. You got your villains over in Boston, and they are not the best team right now. And we'll get to what's been going on with them, but it's kind of the perfect marriage of a team that is easy to hate, but they're not really that equipped, I think, to beat the Buffalo Sabres in this game. It's hockey, of course, anything could happen, and you don't get monster underdogs in almost any matchup in the NHL. But I feel very good about their chances, the Sabres' chances in this one. So, lot to get to on today's show. Very excited for this game. I'll have my bet of the night coming your way in a little bit. We'll take a look at the Bruins. I was trying to figure out what the bar to clear is for this being the biggest home game since blank, because it's a low bar. I mean, it is not the new year yet, right? Like, the season goes to April, and to say the sentence, this is the biggest home game in years, in its own, right, is kind of pathetic, but that's the bar. It's a low bar to clear, and I think because of the win streak and because of the energy that has been felt because of that win streak and because of the GM change that happened in the last couple of weeks, everybody is very hopeful, I think, right now about where this team could go this year. I think people like the way the roster looks, the way that the lineup looks. I don't feel like there's many players right now in the lineup that fans are disappointed in. I mean, there's a couple. I don't think Owen Power has a ton of fans right now. I don't think that Michael Kesselring has really impressed many. And, guys like Jack Quinn once in a while are going to frustrate you. But I would say in totality, most players are in a pretty good place with fans right now. So people are feeling good about that. Lindy seems energized. It's all going pretty well at the moment. Jarmo Kekalainen, he's giving holiday messages right now. So he's in a good mood. Fans like him so far. He hasn't done much yet. He hasn't had time to do much yet. So we'll see. He's been changing over the front office and hiring people that people have heard of. So that's good. I think that low bar to clear probably goes back to the 22-23 season. I think if you were going to say the last home game bigger than this one coming up on Saturday is got to be April of 2023. They had a couple of home games down the stretch, if you'll remember. Devin Levi gets called up, and there's a Rangers game. I believe it might have been on an afternoon, but it was March 31st, 23. That is Devin Levi's debut. I believe Jeff Skinner scores in overtime, and the Sabres are pushing for the playoffs at the very end there. Remember, they went on that little bit of a run where they were kind of out of it, and then they clawed their way back in, winning a bunch in a row. Like that night, they win, and they were still 5 points back. They only had one team to climb over, which is different from where they are right now. So they were kind of out of it. I mean, even then, 5 points out. Really, I think maybe the last one you should point to then is when the Sabres hosted the Hurricanes that same year, April 8th. They beat the Hurricanes by a 4-3 score. That was at home. And if you look at where they were in the standings on that day, they were still 5 points back. So again, like, not the biggest bar to clear. This team has not been in a lot of races. And right now they're in the race, and it's not yet New Year's Eve, but you take what you can get at the moment. The Sabres at the moment are 2 points back of a playoff spot that is currently held by the Florida Panthers, 3 points back of a division spot held by Tampa Bay. Again, I think the opponent matters for this as well, and you want to keep the good vibes going into what is going to be a road trip that is on the way for the Buffalo Sabres. And you've had days off. I know Boston is too, but you had Tuesday to Saturday off. You get the goalie of your choice, right? And you should have fresh legs. You're at home. That should help. And again, you go on the road next. And I don't think the opponents are really that difficult, but you're going to St. Louis, you're going to Dallas, and you're going to Columbus. So get your home win, and then that way, if you drop one out on the road, it doesn't feel like, all right, here they go. They're regressing. They're about to go on a skid to kind of make up for the winning streak that they just had. Keeping that momentum going, and it's tough to draw people. Is it tough? Maybe it's not. I was going to say it's tough to draw fans back in. Maybe this is evidence that it really isn't. I mean, this team has put together 2 good weeks, right? After 14 miserable years, mostly miserable years. 2 weeks is all it takes for them to get people to buy back in. And maybe we're suckers, right? Like, we'll take anything, that we can get. It gets 2 weeks of great hockey, and your lowest ticket price for this game is $124, and the building will be full. It really isn't that hard to get. Fans want to be invested. They want to be engaged. They want to believe that this thing could work. Not letting them leave let down on Saturday night, I think, is key. I think, there are some fans that they'll get back in and then they'll go to this game. And if you lay an egg, you're going to have to work to get them back in the building again. I think fan energy, and really, again, like it's more an emotional point to be made here. But fans have been through a lot. They've been through enough misery, enough negativity. The last thing you want to give them is let their hopes finally get high and have it then crash down earth. It's one thing if the team is making you miserable and then you go to the game for cheap and they lose, 4-1 to Philadelphia. It's another thing when they have you believing again and then drop one. You do that, and that's when you really get angry. I don't think that's going to happen, though, in this game. I feel very good about their chances. The guy we're watching for, and we'll see on Saturday morning if we get anything from practice, there was an indication that Jason Zucker could return at some point after Christmas. This might be a little soon after Christmas. The lineup otherwise should look largely the same. Again, unless we get a miracle, Jason Zucker returning to action. But everything Sabre lineup-wise should be the same. Greenway has been doing this, maintenance thing, 1 game in, 1 game out. I think because of the days off, I would expect that he is in the lineup for the Buffalo Sabres. And I got a question on our private Discord about Zach Metza and whether he's going to continue to be in the lineup for the foreseeable future. I have no reason to think they'd pull him. They're winning games. He has not really gotten them killed. He's not done anything that is super, super impressive to me. I like him as a skater. He has some good puck skills, I think. He's definitely small. I mean, he's listed at 5'9", 198 pounds. He's only playing 9 minutes and 59 seconds a night on average. So he's absolutely your 6th of 6 defenseman. Part of that, by the way, is he doesn't play special teams. He's not obviously going to play power play for you. And partially because of the size, I think, he's also not going to play. He's not going to play in penalty kill situations. He's not going to play at the end of games. So He's just a guy, a fill-in, and hopefully he doesn't get you killed when he's out there. And so far, I would say he's doing the job. He's not getting you killed when he's out there. So good to continue to have him be the sixth guy until somebody comes back, which would not be Timmins. Gets me a long time. Actually might be a good question. Who's the guy that goes in his place? Like Ryan Johnson, maybe at some point. We'll see, but it's definitely Metza for now. When we come back, the Bruins are on a bit of a skid right now. We'll let you know what they've been doing as of late, some of the numbers on Boston, and why I think it's a very, very winnable game for the Sabres against this opponent. When we come back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Sabres is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Got some odds for you a little bit later on this game. Maybe you're feeling real confident on Buffalo's chances and you want to throw a little bit extra on it. And all the hockey momentum changes and goals that are scored and penalties, it's all live betting opportunities, which you can do with FanDuel. It makes it all the more exciting because then you're not just watching the game, you are reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action is unfolding. Every highlight moment, live betting is the best when a game is shifting and, momentum is flipping after maybe a penalty and a goal or a challenge or whatever. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. And you could go to live spreads, money lines, over unders that are adjusting. Maybe you want to bet on a player in the middle of a game because the team's going to a power play, or you like the way a guy's skating in the first period. So let's bet on him to score in the second or the third. You can do anything. Goalies, same thing. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your live bets all season long. Of course, football right now with the NFL and college football as well. All with FanDuel. The game moves fast at FanDuel, and so can you. Sneaky Joe DiBiase back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Sabres and Bruins Saturday night at KeyBank Center. Building should be rocking. The Bruins are a team that I expect the Sabres to do very well against. We'll see how they look out of this break. The Bruins have lost 4 games in a row. While the Sabres have been hot and have won 7 in a row, Boston have lost games to Montreal, Ottawa, Vancouver, and Edmonton. They did that all at home. They had a 5-game homestand. They beat Utah in the first, and then they lost 4 in a row after that. Now they go on the road for a road trip that starts in Buffalo and then goes out west. So not a great place to be if you're Boston at the moment. And they gave up a lot of goals in this 4-game losing streak. In the 4 games, they have given up a total of 20 goals. They've lost games 6-2, 6-2, 5-4, and 3-1 to the Oilers, the Canucks, the Senators, and Montreal. And back-to-back games where they lost by a score of 6-2. One of those games was a Jonas Korpisalo game. One of those games was a Jeremy Swayman game. So it's not been going well for Boston. And giving up a lot of goals shouldn't be all that surprising if you look at the numbers. I guess it would be a little bit surprising if you look at their lineup. Because when I look at their lineup, and I think about, all right, Charlie McAvoy is awesome, and Hampus Lindholm, when he's healthy, is a very good player. Nikita Zadorov is a physical force. Like, that's a pretty good 1, 2, 3. Like, your system should be workable with personnel like that. But on the season, at 5-on-5, the Bruins' expected goals against is the highest in the National Hockey League. They have not given up the most goals, and part of that is they've gotten some solid goaltending from Jeremy Swayman on the year. Swayman is number 4 in the entire NHL in goals saved above expected. So he is doing the job. But the system overall and the blue line itself, Yoki Haru, our former friend here in Buffalo, like he's been out, but that's not an important enough player to chalk it up to that. They have not been a very good team defensively. And I think they are very gettable, especially if they're not getting a great game from their goaltender. I think they especially are a team that you can run out of the building. And again, that's happened to them in the last couple of nights against teams that are okay, but in the Sabres tier. Montreal, Ottawa, Vancouver, I would say, is below. Like, these are some teams that are on the Sabres level or even below it. So I expect them to be able to get some chances in this game and really create some offense against the Boston Bruins. On the season as a whole, the Bruins are above the Sabres in the standings, 41 points to the Sabres 40, but they've played 2 more games. So by points percentage, the Sabres have already passed Boston. And Boston, it's more than even just these 4 games. I mean, they were in first place at one point in the Atlantic Division. And I thought that was never going to hold. And I think a lot of people believe that wasn't going to hold. They had, in late October and into November, they had a 7-game win streak of their own going. But again, you kind of offset that when you go through a couple of losing streaks. And I don't think anybody expected them to hold that together. The lineup is not talented like it used to be in Boston. The couple of pieces that have really been holding it down are David Pastrnak, who's a superstar, one of the best players in the National Hockey League, and also Morgan Geekie. Morgan Geekie is having a career year. He's playing on their top line, important minutes. They have absolutely needed that from him. He had 33 goals last year, so it's not completely out of nowhere, but in the previous 4 seasons, he had goal totals of 17, 9, 7, and 3. I mean, he was not doing anything offensively. Till last year, he really got going. And now this year, 25 goals in 38 games, one of the leading goal scorers in the NHL so far this year. He is scoring at a completely unsustainable clip. I mean, he is scoring on 26% of his shots. That will tank that number at some point. That is a totally unsustainable shooting percentage. Like if I went to look at Alex Ovechkin's career, the highest shooting percentage for an entire season of Ovi's career is was last year, 18.6%. Like guys finishing a year above 20 is usually pretty rare. And he's at 26 on the season. So don't expect that to continue at all. Ryan McLeod, by the way, is one of those guys last year that did get over 20. Now I'm thinking about it. He got to 20.6%, and this year he's at 14, which is still fine. But it's a clip that you're gonna fall from. But for now, he's been pretty darn good all year. I mean, it's been a little slower as of late. If you look at Morgan Geekie in the last 8 games, he has only scored 3 goals versus 22 goals in the first 30 games of the season. So the rate has come down already a little bit, but still a very, very good player that has helped them a lot this season. But other than that, like you get right to their second line and you go to Pavel Zacha, Casey Middlestat, and Victor Arvidsson, and that's a pretty weak second line by NHL standards. I mean, Arvidsson was discarded by Edmonton. He was a healthy scratch a lot in the playoffs last year. Middlestat, we know, tracking him, he's been a little bit lost since the Sabres traded him away off that career year he was having before he went to Colorado. He's been okay so far this year, but it dries up really quickly when it comes to the scoring talent on that Bruins team. Like it is a group that I think is very reliant right now on Jeremy Swayman to be their best player in goal. And their defensemen, again, I would be wanting more from them, but they're just not getting it at the moment. So very, very beatable team, in my opinion. Some of their other numbers on the season, shot attempt percentage on the year. The Bruins are ranking 21st in the NHL. They have been outshot this season by a total of 828 to 789 at 5-on-5. That is 22nd in the NHL. Expected goals for percentage on the year, they rank 30th. The only teams below them, Seattle and Chicago. For comparison's sake, the Sabres on the year in expected goals for percentage are 16th. So you have a team that should probably be middle of the road in Buffalo, playoff bubble team, versus Boston, who probably should be one of the worst teams in hockey and are getting results on the totality of the year that are just a little bit better. So that's what you're looking at for the Boston Bruins in this game. I mentioned Yoki Haru is injured. Other injuries, lesser players on the roster, Jordan Harris, Matej Blumel, Michael Callahan, not guys that I really think you need to concern yourself about. And it's not official yet, but I would expect Swayman is going to be their goaltender with the couple of days off in between. When we come back, take a look at some of the betting lines for this game. Are the Sabres favored in this game? And more coming up here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Taking a break from Stranger Things to watch the show. Get ready for Sabres and Bruins, which is coming your way Saturday night. Third meeting, by the way, of the season. The first 2 games, You had the third game of the year, second game of the year was the Bruins' third game of the year, which was a pretty disappointing result. Sabres lost 3-1 in that game. They were outshot. They were outplayed. And I had really low expectations of the Bruins. So pretty disappointing effort. One of those was an empty netter. Zucker had made it close in the final 10 minutes, but that was a tough one. Sabres did also lose their second meeting of the season. Little bit of a different story there. That was a game where the Sabres dominated, I thought, but they gave up some goals, didn't get some great goaltending. They lose 4-3 in overtime. They did have that 2-goal third period. Tuck and Doan scored. Again, that was also early in the year. That was their 8th game of the season. So you had a couple of early season meetings in October between these two teams, and Boston took both of them, which, listen, that can't happen. I know that they're Boston and they have a reputation, and they've been very good for a very, very long time. But with the state of that team talent-wise, losing to them twice already for me is pretty darn disappointing. By the way, they started Korpisalo in the last one, so you got a backup goalie game against them, and you still didn't win. That was tough. And they were going through some injuries, the Sabres were, but you can't lose to this team again. You cannot. I mean, they play one more time much later in the year in March. You can't end this season with a losing record to the Boston Bruins. I mean, there's no excuse right now for them being above the Sabres in the standings. But again, hopefully that will end here in pretty short order and the Sabres will stay above them. And they already are above them in terms of point percentage. But they should be higher. They should be higher. You can't lose 2 to that team. And losing 3 would be pretty embarrassing. That's why the Sabres are favored in this game. Part of the reason. One of the reasons. Sabres the better team. -142 at home. That's a little bit of a part of it. They are favored in this hockey game over the Bruins. -1.5 is +168. No surprise in some of the goal scoring props. Tage Thompson is the Sabres' favorite to score. I did notice that Josh Doan has come down a little bit in terms of his goal scoring odds. He's down to +230, and he's been hanging out a little bit higher than that on the season. I've still liked his game a lot this year, but we are now looking at how many games since Doan has scored? 6 games since Doan has scored. He scored 2 in the Edmonton game, and he actually didn't score in the previous 4. So 10 of the last 11 games, Josh Doan has not scored. Still have liked this season a lot, and he's throwing some assists around. He's playing in the top 6. Maybe this is the time to strike, though, on Doan for anytime goal because it's a little bit better on the price. I'm not going there, though, for my bet of the night tonight. +8.7 units on the year. I am going over 6.5 goals, which is in the plus money, 104. The Bruins, as I mentioned earlier, highest level of expected goals against in the NHL this season. I think that we're going to see 7 or more goals in this game. I think the Sabres, though, are going to be the team scoring. I can see a 5-2 game at 4-3, sure, but I think you're going to get goals in this game, specifically from the Buffalo end of things. So I like the over in this game for Sabres and Bruins. Enjoy the game. Should be a fun one. The building should be rocking. Let me know if you're going. You want to head into our Locked On Sabres Discord and you want to share your experience in there, feel free. You want to sign up for that, by the way, go over to lockedonsabres.supercast.com, and that is the place to sign up. We will have a post-game edition of this show after Sabres and Bruins is over. So come back and hang out for that. Hopefully the Sabres are either tied for a playoff spot after this game or they are at least closer. Sabres and Bruins. Enjoy it. We'll talk to you next time here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network.